The 49ers offseason just took a turn that could seriously reshape this roster, and it all revolves around one question. What do you do with Mac Jones? Because right now, the rest of the league is watching the 49ers quarterback room like it's a gold mine. Teams are calling, interest is real, and when that starts happening, you have to at least consider the possibility that something big could be coming. Let's be honest with each other for a second. Backup quarterbacks are no longer just insurance. Policies around the league, they've become premium assets. You've seen what happens when a system elevates a player. You've seen former backups thrive after learning under Kyle Shanahan. And now, Mac Jones might be the next name teams believe they can unlock. And here's the thing that makes this complicated. Mac wasn't just some clipboard holder. When he stepped in, he went 5-3 as a starter. He posted a 97.4 passer rating. He threw 13 touchdowns, over 2,100 yards, and just 6 interceptions. More importantly, he kept this team afloat when it had no business staying afloat. Brock Purdy missed time, key weapons were banged up. The roster wasn't whole. But the season didn't collapse, that matters. So now you're John Lynch, the phone rings. A team offers legitimate compensation. Do you answer it? Or do you hang up because you know how important that insurance is when you're in a Super Bowl window? Type trade or keep in the comments right now. I genuinely want to know where you stand. Because here's the bigger picture. The 49ers aren't rebuilding. They're not stacking draft picks for 3 years from now. This team is built to win right now. That makes every decision more intense. Moving a reliable backup could open the door to adding a difference maker somewhere else. But it also removes one of the most stable safety nets in the league. And then there's the curveball that changes everything. Kirk Cousins is expected to hit the market. You already know the connection with Kyle Shanahan goes back years. If you can bring in a veteran like Cousins on a team-friendly deal, suddenly trading Mac Jones doesn't feel nearly as risky. Suddenly, it feels strategic. But before we jump to conclusions, you need to see what kind of offers could realistically be on the table. Because some of these mock trades involve high draft picks, others, they involve young, proven talent that could immediately elevate this roster. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now's the time. Most people watching aren't subscribed, and we're pushing toward 2,000 strong in this community. If you love talking for Niners and you want instant updates when news drops, hit that button and turn on notifications. This offseason is only heating up. Now let's talk specifics. Because the first potential trade partner might look very familiar, Minnesota, and what they could offer might surprise you. When you look at Minnesota, it almost feels like history repeating itself. You saw what happened when a quarterback spent time in the system, rebuilt value, then left and thrived elsewhere. That blueprint is fresh in the minds of front offices around the league. And if you're the Vikings, you're thinking maybe lightning can strike twice. One of the mock trade ideas floating around has the 49ers receiving a 2026 second-round pick, number 49 overall, plus a conditional 4th rounder in 2027, while Minnesota gets Mac Jones and a late pick swap. On paper, that's solid value, a second round. Pick is nothing to ignore. That's a starting caliber player if you scout well. But let me ask you something. Does a 2026 second-round pick help you win the Super Bowl this season? That's the tension here. Draft picks are valuable. Their accuracy, their flexibility, but this team is in a championship window. You don't hang banners for future cap space. You hang banners for Lombardi trophies. So instead of picks, what if you flipped the script? What if you called Minnesota and said, forget the second rounder. Let's talk about Jordan Addison. Addison is a dynamic route runner. He's explosive. He's young. And imagine plugging him into this offense alongside Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, and Ricky Pearsall. Suddenly, the defense can't shade coverage to one side. Suddenly, this offense becomes even more unpredictable. Minnesota's strength is at receiver. Their weakness is at quarterback. If they believe Mac Jones stabilizes that position, why not leverage that imbalance? It makes football sense, and it fits the win now timeline. So I want you to vote in the comments, second round pick or Jordan Addison. Which one are you taking if you're John Lynch? Now let's shift to Pittsburgh because this one's more straightforward. The mock deal suggests the 49ers get a 2026 second round pick, number 53 overall, and the Steelers get Mac Jones. Clean, simple, no extras. But again, are we stockpiling picks or are we fixing weaknesses? If there's one area that has quietly limited this team in big moments, it's the secondary. The pass rush has carried games. The linebackers have flown sideline to sideline. But when elite quarterbacks extend plays, the defensive backs have had to hold up longer than ideal. So instead of a pick, what if you aim higher? What if you ask about Joey Porter Jr.? He's long, he's physical, he's young, and he fits the mold of a defensive back who can grow into a lockdown presence. Pair him with the current group, and suddenly the backend feels far less vulnerable. Imagine heading into a playoff matchup knowing your secondary isn't just surviving, but dictating. That changes defensive play calling. That changes confidence. That changes everything. This is where I want your opinion again. Is the secondary the real weakness holding this team back from another Super Bowl, or is that overblown? Now before we go any further, let me take a second to talk directly to you, the faithful. If you're enjoying this breakdown and you want this channel to grow with this community, hit subscribe right now. We're on the road to 2,000 subscribers, and every single one of you matters. And if you really want to fuel the quest for the next Super Bowl trophy, use the Super Thanks or Hype feature. It's not a donation, it's you investing in better coverage, better production, and a stronger for Niners community. You're not just supporting the channel, you're helping power the mission. Let's build this together. Now, if those trades felt aggressive, the next one takes it to another level, because when you start talking about the New York Jets, you're not just talking about draft picks anymore. You're talking about the possibility of swinging for the fences. Now we get to the scenario that could completely flip the narrative around this offseason. The New York Jets, the proposed mock trade has the 49ers receiving a 2026 second-round pick, number 44 overall, while sending Mac Jones and a 2027 third-round pick to the Jets. On the surface, that's the best draft compensation so far. A mid-second rounder is serious value. But the real intrigue here isn't the pick, it's the desperation. The Jets are searching for stability at quarterback. Justin Fields hasn't looked like the long-term answer. There have been stretches where the offense simply stalled out. Inconsistent accuracy, low yardage totals, drives that never found rhythm. When that happens in the NFL, front offices panic. And when teams panic, opportunities open. Mac Jones makes sense for them. He's experienced, he's played in a structured offense. He's proven he can manage games and protect the football. For a team trying to reset the culture at quarterback, that's attractive. But let's think bigger. If you're John Lynch, do you really want another future pick? Or do you see an opening to chase something much larger, Garrett Wilson? Now we're talking about a true number 1 caliber receiver, elite separation, elite body control, competitive edge, and if you followed the situation closely, you know there's been frustration brewing. He wants to win. He wants stability. He wants a real offensive identity. That's not a secret. Imagine pairing Garrett Wilson with this offense. Imagine defenses trying to account for him, Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, and the rest of this group all at once. You're not just adding a receiver, you're adding a stress point that forces defensive coordinators to lose sleep. Would it cost more than a second-round pick? Probably would. It potentially require including a first-rounder, possibly. But this is what all-in looks like when you're serious about a Super Bowl. So let me ask you directly, would you give up a first-round pick for Garrett Wilson if it meant maximizing this championship window? Type yes or nitrogen monoxide in the comments. because this is the type of move that defines eras. Conservative front offices stack picks, aggressive ones chase difference makers. And sometimes, that bold swing is the move that separates a playoff team from a parade. Now here's the twist. If you think that's ambitious, the final scenario might hit even harder emotionally, because it ties back to one of the biggest what-ifs in recent franchise history. We're heading to Miami, and this one could feel like rewriting the past. Now let's talk about the one that feels personal. Miami. The mock proposal sends a 2026 third-round pick and a conditional 2027 third-rounder to the 49ers in exchange for Mac Jones. Solid compensation. Respectable value. But again, we're not here to stack mid-round picks and call it a day. Because if Miami is truly pivoting at quarterback, if they're even thinking about reshaping their roster, there's a name that instantly grabs your attention. Jalen Waddle, and this is where it gets emotional for longtime fans. Remember the draft capital that went out the door in that aggressive move-up for Trey Lance? One of those picks turned into Waddle, an elite receiver in his prime, explosive, polished, game-changing speed, the kind of player who tilts the field every time he lines up. Now imagine the storyline. Years later, you get another shot. A chance to bring him to San Francisco, a chance to turn that past gamble into present redemption. Not by rewriting history, but by capitalizing on opportunity. Waddle is in his mid-20s, he's entering his prime. He's proven he can produce at a high level. And in this offense, with creative motion and spacing, you're talking about a nightmare for opposing defenses. Quick hitters, deep crossers, yards after catch, it fits. And if Miami was previously open to conversations about him involving a first-round pick in a different year, that tells you something. It tells you they're at least willing to listen under the right circumstances. So let me ask you something deeper than just trade value. Would acquiring Jalen Waddle feel like closing the book on that draft saga? Would it feel like finally turning the page in the best possible way, because that's what this all comes back to? Mac Jones is valuable, he's reliable. He proved that when this team needed stability, moving on from him isn't easy. But if that move unlocks a cornerstone player at a premium position, the equation changes. Now, I want you to rank them in the comments: Jordan Addison, Joey Porter Jr., Garrett Wilson, Jalen Waddle. Put them in order from most wanted to least wanted. And if you'd rather keep Mac Jones and avoid all of this, say it confidently. There's no wrong answer here. This is about philosophy. Are you protecting depth? Or are you maximizing the window? If you haven't subscribed yet, this is your moment. We're building something special here, and we're pushing toward 2,000 subscribers. Join the faithful, turn on notifications so you don't miss a single update. This off-season is moving fast, and you want to be ahead of it, not reacting late. So now I'll ask you the ultimate question.